Well, today is a very special day for a special occasion of the Fatboy Show here on RX Radio. Today is the Fatboy Show Valentine Special. Forgive me for sounding too corny. But happy Valentine's Day. So glad you could join us today. I am Fatboy here with Olive, all decked in red, although she claims it was pure coincidence that she chose to wear a red-ish blouse today. But in her defense, it's not all red. There's some blue in it.
It's red and blue with blue jeans. So really, if I were to go Valentine's mode, maybe it would be a plain red dress or red top and black pants.
I see.
I find that combo ugly though.
Red and black?
I don't like it. In as much as I love black and I love red, I don't like putting those two things together.
I think it's how you combine it, right? Because if a guy, for example, if a guy were to wear a red coat and black trousers, that kind of combination, I think the contrast is a bit too stark. And
there is something about men and red. I don't mind a man in a red t-shirt, but I have issues with a man in a red shirt. Yet if it is a red checkered shirt, I'm still okay.
Then make sure to never marry Anna Choli.
Those ones like neon green and yellow.
We love these bright primary colors.
But you don't wear those colors.
This is true. My colors are pretty muted. I like muted colors.
The nearest you go to red is usually like a wine red, so it's not like in your face.
You see, even though I'm a man of the north, I have a dark soul. So it prevents me from going full bright colored.
What does that even mean, dark soul?
And now that we're on the topic of dark souls, today on the Fatboy Show, we're asking the question, when was the moment you realized your relationship was over? And for us with dark souls, that tends to happen a lot. But I think it's an important question to ask for people who are feeling jaded and disillusioned about love. How is it, what's the easiest telltale sign to tell that a relationship is over? And I'm talking about like a serious relationship. I don't mean these casual flings where you hook up and then you ghost each other and then off you go and pretend it didn't even happen. I'm talking about you were in love, you're committed, probably lived together, had plans of marriage.
Probably had children.
Maybe even had children. But then eventually didn't fall apart. There had to have been a moment where you saw a certain sign that told you, I think it's over.
When there was no, for instance, when there was no steam, how do I say
passion?
it? No, leave alone the passion, because the passion in a long-term relationship usually goes out and comes
Ebbs
back,
and flows.
Fluctuates. But when you reach a point where you don't feel like talking things out or trying to fix issues, you're like, whatever happens. That is a telltale sign.
Well, I don't do a lot of long-term relationships, but in my longest quasi-serious relationship, I mean, in the sense that this was the relationship in which I saw myself with this one person for 4 years, which for me was a long time.
Oh, that's long. Even for
Just
people that say long-term, that is long, yes.
But I think there was one day as we were sitting down and just the way she was looking at me, something just seemed off. It was in the eyes. And I'm not those people who says, I'm not one of those people that says, oh, you can read the eyes and stare into their soul. But in a way you can just, the way someone looks at you just gives off a certain vibe about how they feel about you.
That's true.
That was when I started to feel like, wait, something's wrong here. And indeed, things began to get progressively worse between us. And in this instance, I kind of was the more interested party because I liked her a great deal. But it just kept deteriorating and deteriorating. And there was a certain glimmer that just vanished from her eyes that she used to have. Before, she'd look at me and like her eyes would be glittering. Like you could just feel the...
It is said that eyes are windows to the soul, and that's no cliche. For
so
us
it's actually
women,
true?
It is true, and in most cases, I don't know about guys, but women, there is a way you can tell that she likes that person. It is usually in the way she looks at him, the way she responds around him. And it is those things that you can't even control. You see, even if you're trying to be clandestine with someone, if someone is paying attention, there is something they might catch and they're like, wait, are my eyes lying to me or did I catch something?
Is it the same for you? I mean, do guys also sort of reveal their feelings from the way they look at you through their eyes?
Not always. Men are different. We are wired differently. For men, it is usually the way they respond to you, to your needs. And I'm not talking about things you can touch. But if you're talking and maybe you had a bad day, there is a way he responds and he wants to know, are you okay? Did this make you... Like, he's present. And if you start noticing that the presence is not there, you're talking to them, but it's like they can't even hear you. You're like, something is off here.
Why would that be? So in the instances where you felt love from this man, he would usually feel like he was more engaged and interested in what you had to say.
Yes, more engaged and interested about what I was saying. In what I was saying, he was present. He wanted to hear. He wanted to know more. And there is something about asking questions. If you are the person, because when a person wants to know you, or even to know what happened to you, he will be asking you questions. So, what happened? You had a bad day at work with your boss. So, what happened? He's going to ask. But if you come, can you believe James did this? And he's like, oh, really? And he's on his phone. You're like,
I'll be careful, by the way. When you start talking to your boyfriend about other men, they usually...
I'm talking about men.
At least, a lot of guys see that as a sign that... you might like the guy.
But you see, if that's more the reason, if you're still interested in me, why you're going to pay attention and be like, okay, I need to hear this. What went on?
There's this guy she keeps talking about.
So you want to know.
Oh, there was
what
this
exactly
guy at office.
Going on?
This David guy. He's so fake. Today, he did... And then the name keeps coming up. Of course, I have to start wondering, what's going on between these two?
Yes. And by the way, sometimes people... For women, actually, because I don't know how guys do it, but sometimes when a woman likes someone, they are like, they want to talk about this person. The name has to come up somehow. But now you cannot tell your man that I'm having a crush on my work buddy. So you will have all sorts of stories to bring up his name, and you will have to talk about him with your man, but he doesn't know that you're actually sour graping someone that you actually like. Or maybe it is a cushion so that when you meet the guy, you won't feel like there is competition. You'll be like, she doesn't like him even.
But I would like to say this, though, that if ever you encounter that feeling that it could be dead between the two of you, I feel like it's easier for a woman to reverse the situation than it is for a man to reverse the situation.
Why that? Why is it easier for a woman to reverse the situation?
Because her remedy for that situation is to simply perform a particular set of actions, and that situation will change easily. And whereas for a man, because the reason why she's sort of feeling detached from you and is growing distant really has to do with her feelings, which aren't really amenable to like, you can't really influence her feelings through actions. And when she's starting to feel distant from you, and you start to perform actions in a way to bring her back, and she can tell that that's what you're trying to do, it'll push her away even further. I don't know if that makes sense. She will feel like, because a woman isn't stupid. She knows when she's starting to not feel you anymore, right? And she can tell that you can tell that she's not feeling you. And so when she starts seeing you do certain actions in a bid to win her back, it causes her to feel some disdain for you, because it feels like, in her mind, subconsciously or not, that you're trying to bribe her back. And that makes her feel quite annoyed, actually.
But you know why it is that way? It is usually because before I start distancing myself from you, or before the flame I had for you dies out, I tried to get your attention and I couldn't. Maybe the actions you're trying to do right now are the actions I've wanted months or years ago.
Yeah.
And now when you realize I'm about to leave, you start to do everything. So what that means is that you were hearing me, but you were not ready to do what I wanted you to do.
Okay, so now that may be true. Probably is true. But I'm saying once that point has been reached, it's usually impossible to pull her back. Because she has already, from the time she starts losing interest, she's packing her emotional bags.
That's true.
So that by the time she's saying, okay, I'm done.
She's done 2 years ago.
And you will not see it coming. You may have had a good time the night before, had sex even, gone out for a movie or drinks, but at that time she's already, in her mind, you're not even her boyfriend anymore.
You're not her boyfriend. And what I was doing was explain why when you start doing certain things, you're going to push her away even further. It's because she has wanted you to do these things. Have you realized that some guys, when a lady is leaving, when he realizes he's losing her, then he proposes?
That's why, like R. Kelly said,
when a woman's
fed up,
there is no way
there is nothing you can do about it.
There is nothing.
But on the other hand, and this is the point I was making, that if it's the man that's starting to feel tired of his woman, and let's say now he's maybe eyeing some other chick, or maybe even started seeing another chick, there are things that the current girlfriend can do. Very specific things that can automatically reverse that and cause him to come back.
So things like what?
Because for us, our attachment to the woman isn't so much.
It's not emotional.
I'm not saying there's no emotions, but I would say it's not as much. So that if, for example, I have a wife and lately the vibe has been off, we've not been very sexual with each other. Maybe I arrive home and she's,
Moody.
in a lesu and a t-shirt, oversized t-shirt.
She has that thing
hair
on her
nets.
head. There is that new thing women like putting on their heads. Yes,
exactly. And maybe sexually she's not as giving or as present or would initiate as much. Which, as you mentioned, in a long-term relationship, such things are bound to happen.
Yeah.
Now, if he's now turning his attention to a fresh woman with whom he's enjoying those sort of exciting initial sparks, if his woman were to notice that, all she has to do is to up her game, and you will be shocked at how quickly you'll get your man back. Start giving him the same quality and quantity of sex. Start supplicating to him more, nurturing him more. Now, the mistake women make is when they start to notice the man distancing himself. And I think we talked about this last week. They instead start to feel some indignation. Like, hey, but I'm your girlfriend. You are supposed to be there for me. You are supposed to do these things for me. So unless and until you're appreciating my needs, I feel no inclination to give myself to you in that way, so that it becomes an affront to her that you as the man are not trying enough. And so that now just even worsens the situation, because you are also there now ignoring him, waiting and hoping that he will step up. Meanwhile, in the process, just widening the gap, and
is it,
in a sense, driving him into the arms and legs of the other woman.
So are you saying that whenever men are driven into in between the legs of other women, that their women are truly not doing enough?
I think, and you'd be surprised, the bare minimum would change everything. Now, and I've mentioned...
So is the belief, are you trying to say that whenever a man steps out, and I agree, sometimes there could be things the main chick is not doing, but is it the truth all through that every time a man decides to sleep around, it's because his woman is not doing what she's supposed to do?
Okay, maybe let me make a distinction, because it would be unfair for me to claim that if a man is in love, he won't sleep around. He may still, but he could still be in love with his woman. Like, there'll be guys who have a side chick here and there, but still adores the wife in a way, right? So, even if in your mind it may make no sense, but that's how a male mind is. He may occasionally scratch an itch with a random girl here and there.
He's made to hunt. But
he worships his wife and would want her to stay with him and to be with him, and is quite generous with her and loving towards her and all these things. But really, I've mentioned before that I'm usually the one that gets dumped or ghosted. And the few times I have ever said to someone, I don't think we should be in a relationship anymore, like where I've explicitly stated, the few times, and I would say it's probably actually maybe once, twice at most over the years. At no time did the person say, okay, what can I do to change your mind? Tell me what to do so that you don't leave, or so that we can work this out. I've never been asked that question. And yet, when I have been the one that's been on the receiving end of the breakup,
you always ask.
That's the first thing. What can I do? What do you want me to do? And usually they say, there's nothing you can do.
Because their minds have been made
exactly, so that her feelings for me are not so much informed by my actions or any actions I may take thereafter, because it's about her feelings. And yet for me, or for men, our feelings towards a woman are very much influenced by her actions towards us. So if a guy were thinking about leaving his woman and the next day she just decided, for example, to not be indignant about her feelings towards the relationship, to not be nagging, to not be complaining, and instead devote a week or two to completely supplicating to this man, that man will not leave. Give him more sex than he's been receiving lately. In which you are focusing exclusively on his pleasure and satisfaction.
No, I understand.
Treat him to wonderful homemade meals.
Pleasure and satisfaction.
My point is, because we're asking the question today, what can be done to reverse the situation? And I'm saying, for men or a man who's thinking of leaving, this would change it. Okay. Have you not heard of that story of a woman who went to a witch doctor? I think this story is from Asia. She went to a witch doctor saying, hey, my husband is losing interest in me. I think he's seeing other women. Give me a magic potion to make him drink so that he loves me again. And the witch said, oh, no problem. I'm glad you came to me. I have the perfect solution for you. In fact, I will make you the potion that will make your husband fall in love with you immediately and never look at another woman again. So she's excited now. So tell me, how much is it? And she said, no, first start by getting me 3 whiskers from the lion that lives in the mountain. And then after that, you come back and then we start working on your potion. So she's like, is that all? She says, yes. So she goes to the mountain to get the whiskers from the lion. I mean, first of all, she had to think about how possible that this was even going to be. And so she decided that she was first going to study the lion, observe it from a distance, a safe distance, because she wasn't trying to get attacked and killed by the lion. So she observes the lion as it walks into its cave and it walks out. She sees where it goes, its sleeping habits, how it hunts and stuff like that. She observes it for like 2 weeks. And then when she feels like she can basically understand how it operates, she then starts to leave food where she knows it will find it. And so over the course of another 2 weeks, every day she would go and leave the food in the same place and not show her face. She'd just leave it there and whatever. So the lion became accustomed to expecting food to be delivered at a certain place at a certain time. She continues. The next time she brought the food, at that time, she made herself be seen by the lion, but still from a distance, safe distance. So at first the lion was a bit aggressive, but because she was from a safe distance, the lion was now more focused on its food. It ate the food. And every day she would bring the food and again from a safe distance, show her face, and the lion would see that she's the one that brought it. Eventually it got used to the woman bringing the food. And over time she would come closer and closer and closer as she was bringing the food. So now the lion saw this woman as her friend and had no real issues with her. Eventually, she was actually now able to walk up to it and lay the food there and walk away. But she needed the whiskers, remember. She needed to pluck the whiskers. So she had to get even closer. So once she became physically comfortable with the lion and it was now used to her, she needed for it to become comfortable enough for
to
her
let her touch it.
To touch it. And again, she had to go slow, right? And eventually she was able to enter its cave, again with the food, and it obviously did not attack her. But at some point over time, it would feel comfortable resting in her presence. And then one day it started to rest its head on her laps whenever she would come to see it in the cave. And when she started trying to pluck out one of the whiskers, it growled like it was going to be crazy. So she let it go. And just, slowly by slowly, she would try to go at it again and pull a little bit, and it would react, and she would release. Eventually, the lion was used to her enough that the next time she came and tried to yank out the whiskers, it didn't object. So she plucked out with the whiskers triumphantly, runs back to the witch doctor and says, "Here you go. Here are your whiskers. Make me my potion for my husband." And then the witch doctor said, "Well, congratulations. Actually, you found the solution to how to make your husband love you. Treat your husband the way you treated that lion, and he will never go anywhere again."
Of course, that story is fake because it would
but
never
it teaches
happen.
An important lesson
But all that trouble for
on
what?
how to make your man love you.
I'm even tired just by listening.
But you see, and that's the problem. You don't get the point.
I got the point. You have to be patient. You have to be nice. You have to be quiet.
You have to study him.
And maybe there is a point there. But for every couple, there is a point of no return. And there are times when even the man, even if, you can change your character and change his mind, there are moments when he's done.
I'm not saying he won't have another woman, but it's highly likely that you'll remain the main one.
So what's the point?
That is the point. Don't you want to be the main one?
There are cases, and I'm not being...
the queen of his castle.
And I am not being child here to say that a man will never cheat. Of course, he shouldn't, because as a woman, women, we are monogamous by nature. No, seriously, studies have been done. There may be women who step out on their men, and I agree, they exist, but studies have been done that women mostly are monogamous by nature, and men are supposed to hunt. That is how they are wired. But at the same time...
That's hilarious.
When I hear a woman saying, "But I got the ring," this man has cheated on you with 7 women, and you have seen photos of him with other women, sometimes naked. You've seen conversation. You've heard voice notes of them sexting, and you're still saying, "I got the ring. I am the main wife." Honestly speaking, who are you trying to convince? Because in my opinion, you're convincing yourself. Because if you love yourself and respect yourself enough, there comes a point where being the main chick doesn't really matter.
Well, I would advise you and all the ladies to recalibrate your thinking, because the fact is that's the best it's ever going to get. If you're hoping to enter into a relationship or marriage expecting that this man will never step out with another girl at some point, I think you're deluded.
No, when it comes to men having other women, we may not be able to change that, okay? But there are boundaries. There are men who cheat on their women, and the women will never know. He will tell the side chick, "You don't call me at this time. You don't come to my home. You don't do ABCD." And then there is this special man who doesn't put a latch onto the side chick. She calls him at midnight, and he picks the call. Now, those are things men do that are beyond.
Yeah, that's very disrespectful.
Yeah.
That shouldn't happen. But to go back to the main point that we're addressing.
Me to live ignorantly, if you want to call it that, but let me be ignorant in bliss than showing me that you're painting the city red with your side chicks. That is not
I think
okay.
Amber Rose said it best, or at least this quote has been attributed to her. She says, "All men will cheat, but if he loves you, you'll never find out."
Exactly. Exactly. So for me to say I don't want my man to cheat, maybe I'm being ignorant, but I prefer it that way. If he must do it, let me never find out, because if I find out, I'm walking.
Wonderful thoughts on a day like this. Happy Valentine's Day, and keep listening to The Fatboy Show on RX Radio.